My pimply ass ain't gonna be on there. It's like the wrestling business. You not make that shit up.
Yo, Reinforcer Nation, Reinforcer Radio is back on the air with you. My name, it's Jeff Lawhorn. His name, Andrew Anderson. Her name, the lovely Miss Karen. Yes, the lovely is her first name. All right. And we got a great show for you guys coming up. Maybe a little bit on the somber side. And we're also going to talk a little bit of WrestleMania. But first and foremost, unfortunately, Andrew lost a great friend and brother just a few days ago. Jay Ice, professional wrestler, man of the people, and apparently, from what we've heard, basically the mayor of Connecticut and Bridgeport. He ran the city. The people loved him, and Andrew loved him. And we're going to do, a good 35, 40 minutes or so of this show just tributing Jay, what he did for this man over here, the love that these guys had for Jay, and the love that a couple of other people that are going to come on with us have had for Jay. Andrew, how you holding up, brother? First off,
I'm here. It's every time you think or see a picture on social media, or you think about some of the stuff we've done together. I mean, Jay Piccirillo, Jay Ice. Everybody knows him as the Iceman. Some people know him as Jay Ice. Some people just know him as Ice. And but he'll always be my brother, Jay Pick to me. And him and I did so much together over the years. And when I think about all the stuff he did, I mean, we did sauce versus gravy contests. We had all these fundraisers for St. Margaret's Shrine in Bridgeport, Connecticut, all these smaller churches, all these schools, for the Cardinals over there in Connecticut. So many things we've done: wrestling events, fireworks display, Knights of Columbus parades, college commencements, everything. You name it, you did it. And he owned the legendary Michelizzi's Ice, Italian ice company, that rivaled Rita's, actually was better than Rita's Ice. And I'll go on record saying that Jay had the best Italian ice company on the freaking planet. And still to this day, Michelizzi's is a staple of Connecticut. He actually just, this past fall, he did at the WWE offices in Stamford, they had an employees like a day out, like a picnic, like a thing that they did over there, and Jay supplied all the ice, and he's doing his usual press conferences there with Triple H and Stephanie McMahon and everybody. So I mean, Jay did it all. He did it all. He had a heart of gold. He'd help you if you had a dime. He'd make sure you had money and food. If you didn't have money, he'd give you money out of his own pocket, or he'd do a fundraiser. Jay was the king of the people, and he never changed. He had a heart of gold and a soul of an angel. That's what I'll always say. He was a benefactor to hundreds of thousands of people in the city of Bridgeport, Connecticut, and the state itself. He did his best. He could have ran for mayor of Bridgeport at any given time and won hands down with a landslide. That's how loved he was by the people of Connecticut, and especially the people of Bridgeport. It was a rough town, a rough community. He never forgot that, and he made sure that rough town was full of smooth edges for everyone living in it. He did his best to make sure that everybody in Bridgeport and the surrounding areas had a hot meal, had food, and of course, had a smile on their face.
Yeah, that from what I've heard, I never was lucky enough to meet Jay. Andrew has told me many stories of Jay.
We were actually planning to have him on.
And we were. He was on our list, and believe me, if anybody knows anything about an Andrew Anderson list, it's all over the place. But Jay was one of those top names on that list, and he was telling me a lot about Jay and the things that Jay had done, and it was really cool because, we talk so often about this is not your ordinary wrestling podcast. We want to have people on here that just aren't just pro wrestling and aren't always the pro wrestling world. And I feel like Jay was going to really kind of be our intro to the rest of entertainment and everything else that goes into, this wonderful world of podcasting.
Jay was like Santa Claus with Walt Disney, Willy Wonka, King Kong, and Tony Soprano all in one. Jay was unlike anyone you'll ever meet. And when you left, you felt like you had a friend. You had a friend for the rest of your life. When you left him, he gave you that. Karen, we'll tell you a little bit about Jay.
Yeah, I'm so happy that I got a chance to meet Jay. Knew him for about 3 years, and met him at a birthday party, and he just welcomed me. I found pictures. He just hugged me. My goodness, the smile he had, and then did a wrestling event, and I was talking to Andrew about this, where we're doing this wrestling event. It's outside. It's hot. That's when I first got to try his ice, which was awesome. But we're outside, and he is grabbing anything and everything to hit people with. I'm filming all of this, and he's just and at some point I had pictures where he's just off to the side hitting somebody and beating them up. And in the meantime, Drew's pinning the other guy, but he's still beating the guy, and just even before the match, he's like, I got to find stuff to hit people with. So it was hysterical.
And the funny part about that was Jay just got over hip surgery. He just got a new hip put in. He dropped at that time about 50 some odd pounds. He was on Mounjaro and everything, and he lost all this weight. And he was all excited to be hopped up and back in the ring and doing stuff. He never actually got in the ring because of his hip, and I did all the in-ring work with my opponent, and he did the outside work. The guy he worked outside the ring was a really big 400 some odd pounder. But Jay didn't hold back. And I always said about Jay, he had no finesse in the ring. When you would get in the ring with him, get ready to be in a fight, because I was his opponent. I was his tag team partner. And, he would just club you to death with anything he had. He was just that stiff. And that turned out to be a hardcore match. It wasn't planned to be one, but Jay pulled it off, and it was a good time. He took a liking to Karen instantly. Karen, for all intents and purposes, became his sister.
That's really, really cool. And that's, it just goes to show how much these guys can turn on and turn off in this business. He may have been hitting somebody over the head with something, but then, 10 minutes later, he's, kissing somebody's little kid and talking about their family and wanting to know about their life and how their grandmother is, how their grandfather is. And he's giving out water ice and, just being this quintessential guy of, giving back to the community, giving back to the people, and, not getting to know him, it definitely sucks, because I wanted to be able to meet so many of these people that have been in Andrew's life over the years. And it's disappointing that I won't be able to meet Jay. But you know what? We can take this time and keep Jay's memory alive, and just talk a little bit of Iceman stories here.
This is this powerlifting shirt right here. Jay and I bonded. We first met at the New England Powerlifting Championships, and a few years after that, a little bit about Jay before that. Jay was a professional bodybuilder, and at Jay Percarillo, he turned into a powerlifter, and that's when I met him. Years later, I would meet him at an East Coast Pro Wrestling show, and he was in the locker room getting dressed next to the Metal Maniac, both of them putting their makeup on. And I said to myself, dude, I didn't know you wrestled. And we were friends. We were wrestling each other that night in after a battle royal that we were both involved in. And we became friends. That was over 24 years ago. And we became friends, and we never stopped being friends. And we did all these different appearances together throughout Bridgeport, Connecticut, and the surrounding areas, Fairfield, Bridgeport, that whole area. And, my favorite event with him was Sauce versus Gravy. And somehow I was always Sauce and he was Gravy, and I'd always get hit with the big wooden spoon, the big giant wooden ladle. There's a picture somewhere on the internet of me holding that big spoon that just got broken in half over my head. He'd always feed everybody. He was, if you wrestled on one of his shows, everybody on that show was fed. Everybody had not cold water. You had cold beer. You had ice, Italian ice up the wazoo. You had ice creams. You had cannolis. You had everything you needed, because it was a J ice show. Or even if it was the parade, he had the nicest float in the parade, the Michelizzi ice float. But it was for the people of Bridgeport. That's what he did. Columbus Day, Bridgeport's anniversary parades. He did it all. And I said it before, if he wanted to run for mayor, he would have won hands down.
Well, apparently he was the people's mayor, so
Yes.
that's truly where it matters and everything. But listen, guys, we are going to take a couple minutes here, and we are going to get Pat Tafaro on. We are going to have Joey Ambrosini on, and then we're going to have Tim Theory on as well, all wanting to talk some Jay stories, all wanting to talk about Jay and remembering Jay. And we're going to get back to it, man, because we got to get these guys on the show.
Yep, we have an artist, an actor, and a rapper, formerly a wrestler.
There you go, guys. We told you we are not your ordinary wrestling podcast, and we are bringing it alive. Jay may not have been able to be the first guy on that was different than just the pro wrestling world, but we're using his memory to make this not just all about pro wrestling on this show. So we're going to be back with Pat here in a few minutes, so hang out with us.
Reinforcer Radio.
Yo, guys, Reinforcer Radio is back on the air with you. And as you can see, if you're joining us here on YouTube, we got a special guest. We talked a little bit earlier that we're doing a nice little tribute show to a good friend of Andrew's here that we lost this past week, the Iceman Jay. He unfortunately lost his life just a few days ago. Andrew taking it pretty hard, losing a good friend here. But we're trying to celebrate his life here on Reinforcer Radio. We're trying to bring some guys on maybe you haven't heard of, maybe you have heard of. But we just want to tell some stories about Jay, and we want to keep his memory alive. So if you can see us here on YouTube right now, we've got Mr. Pat Tafaro on with us. Pat, how are you, brother?
Doing well, considering, you know.
Yeah, it's been tough. For you people out there who don't know who Pat is, you've probably seen a lot of Pat's artwork on a lot of T-shirts, cups, mugs, memorabilia items. He does a lot of work with Sick Creations, SSIK, that's KISS spelled backwards. He's signed all the T-shirts and for Dale Torborg, the Demon, the KISS Demon from WCW fame, and he's actually done a lot for the band and keeping the legacy of KISS alive in his own way, right, Pat?
Yes, sir. Trying.
Now it's up to us to keep the legacy of Jay Piccirillo, the Iceman, alive, right?
Absolutely. And KISS was one of those connecting factors with Jay growing up. We grew up in, Bridgeport, and, Jay was around the corner from where I used to work at Sorrento's Italian meat market on Capitol Ave, and the guys there and Jay, all of us were into KISS. So it was always competing on who had the latest and greatest KISS, memorabilia in their collection, or when the latest album came out, who got it first, who ran to the mall and got the LP or the cassette, or, not to date us, but the 8-track,
I go back to the 8-track.
Yeah, I have a few of those. Yeah.
I know you do.
But, it definitely started with that. It was a tight, close Italian community around that area. So, my parents, his parents, everybody was Goombas and Goomas, all that. You always see everybody at, St. Margaret's Shrine, all the festivals and all that stuff. It was, every Sunday, man, it was like a gathering.
I got a funny story to tell you, though.
Yeah.
Did a wrestling show at St. Margaret's Shrine 3-4 years ago, and here I am coming down to my match wearing a Black Sabbath T-shirt.
Right.
I just remember Jay going, looking, he's managing me. He turns around, looks at me, goes, "Oh, God, I'm wearing a Black Sabbath shirt with the freaking horns up at St. Margaret's Shrine." So I took the shirt off and I threw it right into the priest's arms without realizing it. And Jay goes back. So,
it started with that, and then just over the years, I lived in Florida for a lot of years after I got out of college, so I kind of separated from a lot of the guys from like the everyday occasion. But whenever you came home for the holidays or anything, it was like not missing a beat. It was just like you picked right up where you left off, and and then of course when I moved back, going to different events and functions and everything, and catching right back up to, like I said, where we left off. I think Andrew took a funny story with him. Just out of the blue. I had seen him like that weekend prior at some restaurant or something, and just kind of chit chatting. And then a couple days later on a Saturday morning, I get a call from Jay, and when Jay calls, you pick up, because he does it for everybody, and he called and, hey man, what's up going on, brother? And he's like, hey man, I need a favor. I need my truck down from Bridgeport up in Milford at the some carnival event that's going on. And I'm like, dude, like, okay, but I don't really, I've driven a van for a couple years, but this is a big box truck ice cream thing.
Mm-hmm.
And sure enough, I went down to Michalizzi's down in Bridgeport, loaded up with some stuff. Of course,
Not to interrupt you, I just want the people to know that Michalizzi's was Jay's company, his father's company, which was an original Italian ice company, and he was like the biggest rival around to like Rita's and everywhere else, Dairy Queen and everything else. So go ahead from there. I'm sorry.
It was a staple. It's a landmark, to be honest with you. But I hauled down to Bridgeport. Met up with him, got into the little ice room in the back, started loading up some stuff, and loaded up the truck. And he's like, "All right, follow me." And that's what I thought was the funniest thing, because Jay, we all know he was a teddy bear at heart, but he's a big dude. And he's like, "Hey man," he goes, "I'm kind of scared driving these big trucks." I'm like, "Dude, this is like your business. How can you be scared of driving your own truck?" And it's like, "But all right, I'll get behind the wheel," and followed him all the way up to Milford, and did the thing there. But it was just funny. He's a funny, happy guy, and that smile, man. When I look at the painting, when I think of him, I always just think of that smile all the time. He was always smiling, always positive. In fact, Andrew, you mentioned some of the things I do, but like currently this past year, I've been teaching cartooning at my buddy's studio who did the painting, and doing it with a lot of kids and doing that kind of stuff. And I was just talking to Jay not too long ago. He was actually going to make us our own Art Monster, a mash kind of Italian ice, where he was going to put like gummy worms and eyeballs and stuff in there, make our own flavor for the studio. So do the summer camps with the kids. That's what they were going to get, straight from Michalizzi, but our own monster flavor. And he got so excited about that. I was like, hey, I was first I just engaged. I was like, maybe I'm just going to get a couple tubs, some flavors. So during the summer, we'll have, stuff to hand out to the kids. And then he's like, hey, we'll make your own flavor. What do you want? And I was like, well, and then I started telling him, he's like, oh, dude, we'll put eyeballs. And, him being into horror stuff, he loved putting like gummy worms, and he got really excited about all that stuff. So, yeah, man, big shoes to fill, man. Big shoes to fill, Bridgeport.
Nobody will fill those shoes. It's impossible. Jay was like I forgot who said it. I don't know if it was you or somebody said he was like a combination of Willy Wonka meets Santa Claus meets Superman.
Yeah. I mean, being from Bridgeport, I moved away when I got out of college, but Jay was one of the reasons that made you proud to be from Bridgeport. There's a lot of reasons Bridgeport in some cases were looked down, and Bridgeport was tough. It was a tough, little, but the people were good. But he made you extra proud to be from Bridgeport. I always know, coming from there, I wanted to make something out of myself. My first job working with Warner Brothers and Looney Tunes companies, doing illustration, cartoon, it was my dream. I was like, yeah, I made it, but Jay stayed there and made it there. That was, and like I said, always made me proud to go back to Bridgeport. And then, like I said, man, just seeing him around at KISS concerts and, restaurants, because, bouncing around the same neighborhoods, man, it's just,
I used to try to get Jay to go on the road and wrestle with me on the road. I said, come on, we could do stuff together on the road. We could do a tag team. We could do our matches every day. He said to me, he goes, I can't leave my mom. I can't leave Bridgeport. And he'd say that to me deadpan.
Yeah.
And I'd say, you're gonna regret it. You're gonna regret it. Could have made a big deal. And he said, I'll never regret it.
Yeah. No.
And that was when we were younger,
Yeah. But I believe he still felt that way and never regretted it,
No. And he just lost his mom literally just a year ago.
Yeah.
That was really a hard one. And he carried on his father's legacy, the ice, the Michalizzi's ice. He carried on his father's legacy. And I know it's a lot to ask, but one can only pray that Gennaro takes over where his dad left off.
I hope so. I really do.
Because to keep that name alive, I mean, it was so important for Connecticut and Bridgeport. And Pat, you remember just this past fall, he was in Stamford, and he did the Michalizzi's Ice for one of the WWE big out. outdoor events that they did at the
Yeah.
at the offices, the corporate offices.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. No, and I'm saying, like, he kept the family legacy alive, and he made it bigger. You know, he got into it. You know, him and I and another buddy of mine, we talked about some marketing strategies and doing some social media and some, you know, things of that nature for Mick Lizzy, kind of get him into that next century with some of the, you know, kind of marketing strategies. But he always, even as big as things got, and even when, you know, I'd see, oh, this restaurant or this place is carrying it or this, that, he never changed him, man. Like, he was always the same, you know, like, it was always Jay. Like, nothing ever changed him. You know, we know, you know, he liked, you know, the limelight and all that, you know, that come from wrestling and, you know, all that. And he was great at it. He was great, but he backed it up with substance. You know, he wasn't just out there just a mouth, you know, he backed it up with tenfold with substance. Everything he said, he did tenfold. And another good friend of mine, Andre, he wrote something, you know, that you can measure that the memory of that man by I mean, my Facebook was flooded and still is for days. I'll tell you one other thing. Friday, when I found out the news, I was at the studio. We had just finished our summer camp, and my brother had called me. He was here to visit with Jay and found out. And I was talking to just get a little, talking to my friend about it there. And he lived, my buddy Raph, he goes by Five. I shouldn't say his real name, but he goes by Five Fingers, my artist friend. He lives in Norwalk, grew up in Norwalk and all that stuff. And by the time I got home, within 40 minutes, he texted me. He's like, yo, man, he goes, your boy Jay, because he didn't know Jay. He had about a dozen people reaching out about doing a portrait of him and tribute to him. This was in an hour of it happening, and
Passing, yes.
someone, you know, almost an hour away, and then because I had talked to my, you know, about it, and I was like, yeah, let's do one. And again, Five Fingers, my buddy, he does it for a lot of people, great people in the community. He does a lot of wonderful things in Norwalk, and that's what kind of cool too, because I saw a little bit of that what he was doing with, you know, what Jay does and all that stuff as well. And that what Jay does rubbed off on all of us, you know, doing that. It rubbed off on me, and I had the opportunity to do what I'm doing there and with working with kids and stuff like that. And it's, man, it's heavy, man. It's heavy.
I know it is. Pat, can you show us that artwork that was just thrown up?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's all over YouTube.
Yeah.
And Facebook and Instagram. Look at that. That's Jay's smiling face, man.
So the unique thing with this, my buddy Five Fingers, he doesn't stencil, no tracing, no nothing. He literally paints with like a little brush or his fingers. His studio's full of all these kind of paintings. You know, it's kind of well known throughout. And of course, he didn't hesitate in doing that as well. And of course, we're going to look to donate that to the family. And, you know, maybe we could raise some funds or something, whatever the family wants to do with it, you know, because I got a bunch of message people want to put it on t-shirts and posters. And I'm like, well, I'm actually going to have it framed tomorrow, professionally framed with a beautiful frame on it. We'll give it to the family. And then if the family wants to do anything with it, you know, I'll talk to, Bridget. Andrew, as you mentioned, I have access to doing t-shirts and all that stuff if they ever wanted to do that, but that'll be entirely their decision. You know, maybe there's some kind of fundraiser thing we could do and put to one of the charities Jay did so much work for in his name, you know, something, I don't know, but it was just, it was a great memento for him to remember him. I'm going to make a copy for me so I could keep, you know, I'm going to put it here in as you can see, my Kiss cave. He was one of my Kiss brothers. In fact, he came over, I don't know, it was like 6 or 7 months ago. He came over, and he was admiring my Kiss collection. He's like, oh, I don't have that. I don't have that. I'm like, dude, come bring some stuff over. We'll trade or something, you know? Yeah, he's going to be, deeply missed, man. Deeply missed, but never.
Man, I'd love to have a picture of Jay, a piece of artwork to put right behind us in the Reinforced Radio studio.
I'll get you a copy of that. One thing, and then I'll go. I know you probably got other people, but someone else said this on Facebook, and I was kind of feeling it, and I'm not going to word it properly, but like all the good that Jay did, you know, if we could all just do a little bit of that, you know, like he did so much, you know, and there's so many of us that love him. So if everybody just took on like 5% of what that dude was doing, you know what I'm saying? I come from a background where I feel like it takes a village sometimes, the belief of, having good support and people around you and all that stuff is what makes you happen. I know for me, I'm going to do a little bit more. I know that. And I'm sorry.
I'm going to do my best too. As a matter of fact, Karen and I were talking about it the other night, how sometimes I'm running around like a chicken without a head, and I don't give us as a couple the time, and
Sure.
sometimes I don't just stop and smell the roses. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Jay used to yell at me all the time about relaxing and everything. And I'm going to tell you something a lot of people don't know. Jay was responsible for most of my sobriety as far as drugs went.
Right. Wow.
Jay was responsible for that.
Yeah.
Jay was one of the guys who was telling me to knock the stuff off,
And I bet you're not the only one too, Andrew. I'm sure I know it. There's many others in line that he helped the same way.
He was my brother in all aspects.
Yeah.
All aspects, not just wrestling.
To a lot of people.
That's why whenever he did a charity event.
But that's the thing that's amazing. He was that deep and that close to so many people. Yep. Like, it's unheard of. You know what I'm saying? It's unheard of. I heard the mayor, and I don't want to disrespect the mayor in Bridgeport or anything, but Jay was the fucking mayor, dude. He was. He
was.
I mean, minus the political bullshit and all that stuff. Jay was never going to sell out. That's why he wanted to get politics. But if something was happening in Bridgeport, you asked Jay, and that shit was happening. Let's just be true. Let's just be real. That's
somebody called him the Bob Hope of Connecticut.
Yeah, and and they talked about, which I'm hoping and I'm going to push for, some kind of monument or something. In Bridgeport, there should be. I want to see that. I would love to see it. And I was talking to my buddy Five today about it. Because we have a network of different artists, and I started talking about if we knew any artists that do full figure sculptures and things of that nature. To start, I don't know. But something should be done. There's what he's done for that city and everybody in there. And in his legacy too, I think the legacy, like I said, hopefully everybody does a little bit more and that legacy will keep going. But I when someone mentioned it, I was like, absolutely, I'm 1,000% putting a statue up of that dude. Absolutely.
And he didn't just work with the Italian community. He worked with the Black community, the Hispanic community. He worked with all the bikers. He worked with everybody. He tried to unify everybody with what he did. I mean, it wasn't just one community. He kept everybody. Absolutely. It was diverse.
Yeah, if you needed help and he can help you, he was there. It didn't matter.
He was the first one there on the front line.
It didn't matter. Didn't matter at all. And that's like I said, hopefully, for me, looking at things like, and what has happened, and it's unfortunate things, sometimes things have to happen to make you realize certain things, right? But for me, I was like, man, if all of us just do a little bit more, in his name, kind of like, they say, what would Jesus do, kind of thing. So now, what would Jay do?
What would Jay do? Yeah. I never thought of it that way.
So that's how I leave it,
We could put that on a t-shirt.
Yeah. Maybe we'll have to do that, man. Maybe we'll have to do that.
What would Jay do?
Yeah.
That's fantastic, man. Thank you for taking a couple minutes and giving us a call here at Reinforcer Radio. I know Jay meant a lot over here to the big guy.
Yeah.
And just hearing you talk about him, it's beautiful to hear that people have so much respect and love for somebody. That they can get on and express their feelings, and hopefully it's a little bit of a way for you to pay your tribute to Jay and what he gave you in life. Obviously we're gonna keep his memory alive around here at Reinforcer Radio. And
anything you want to say? Closing.
I honestly, I just feel really bad. It shocked me. I didn't get to know him as long.
Right.
I didn't get to know him as long, almost 3 years, but I mean, I loved him.
Yeah.
It has my.
You saw the
way, and I hate saying this, and I've said it to a lot of people this week. He gave a lot to a lot of people, and I keep bad people in prison, and here I am, and I'm thinking, here's people that take things away from people, and why life is not fair.
Yeah.
Pat, I love you so much.
brother.
Always,
Always, man.
always, forever.
I will, unfortunately, in a bad way, see you on Friday, but,
Mhm.
you know, but thank you guys for having me. Thanks for keeping his memory going, man. And,
Listen, we'll do whatever it takes. You know, I mean, he was family to you, to me, to your brother, and
so, man,
basically everybody in Bridgeport, Connecticut. So,
Yeah.
and even outside of Bridgeport, he
absolutely.
still was willing to overstep that boundary and go statewide, other states, New York, New Jersey. You know, he tried to do his best with everybody.
Right.
And you know, heart of gold, soul of an angel.
Yeah.
Well, Pat, we really love to have you back on at some point to really showcase your beautiful talents, and talk about some of your things you got going on. This obviously was all about Jay, so we're not going to tap
Yep.
too much into
Yep.
Pat's world, but we will definitely have Pat back on at some point, and he can show us a little bit of that sweet Kiss collection and some of the things he's done for the wrestling community as well over the years. So, but
Awesome.
ladies and gentlemen, please. Pat Jafar, thank you, brother.
Thank you, my friend.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, guys. Peace. We'll see you soon.
Reinforcer Radio.
Yo, Reinforcer Radio, we are back on the air again, and we've got another guest. The show has been completely filled with awesome tributes to our boy here, Jay Ice. Remembering Jay, remembering his legacy in professional wrestling, and how awesome of a human being Jay was to the fine folks of Connecticut, all the people that he touched in his life. And we got another one on with us. Andrew tells me actor and mega wrestling fan. So, of course, right up our alley. Joey Ambrosini is on with us. Joey, how are you today, man?
I am doing fantastic. Still numb, if I'm going to be honest with you. But when you lose such an amazing
Otherwise,
man,
I mean, we lost a tremendous human being.
we did. We really did. I would have never thought. It's just, it's a shame to know that, that such people who die so young and so unexpectedly too. But, just the memories we cherish with him. Like, I go back with Jay. God, I mean, I want to say over roughly around 12 years if I had to really estimate. Longtime family friend, Jay being from Bridgeport, my family all being from the area too. His family knew my family, and it just brings people together, It's but the thing about Jay is, like, when he comes into your life, it's like it's always for a reason. And the amount of people he's brought together, all the things he's done for charity, such as even the wrestling events, which were a hell lot of fun. I remember the first time I've ever seen Jay wrestle was actually in a 6-man tag team match with himself, Gino Caruso, the owner of East Coast Professional Wrestling, and wrestling's legend Jimmy Superfly Snuka against Andrew Anderson, Al the Punisher Nastemski, and the German Menace Craig Stagg.
Yep.
And yeah, I remember, talking mad shit to Drew after he kept stomping on him. I was a huge Ice fan, I mean, but it was incredible. And one thing I can say about, how I've grown in the entertainment industry, it's like when I was growing up as a kid, I knew I always wanted something to do with entertainment. And Jay, I think, really was one of the people who boosted my confidence. And I know that he did that for a lot of people. And, it's just a shame. The words just can't describe and how much, how much
Jay
he's
was
missed.
really mad proud of your acting career, how you
Yes.
started and everything, and all the movies you've done and all the awards you won on film festivals. So he was really, really, really super proud of you. And going back to that 6-man tag match, you realize 3 of that 6-man are gone. Jimmy Snuka, Al, and now Jay.
I know. They're all together though. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean,
listen.
The saddest thing, if I had to be honest with you, now, just recently I had a relative in my family pass away, and the last time I saw Jay was at that funeral, and I remember the last thing he ever said to me, which really warmed my heart. He came right up to me, and he gave me the biggest hug in the world, and he said to me, he whispered right in my ear, he's like saying, "I am very proud of you." And hearing those words, I've heard that a lot, and it always means the world to me to know that people are rooting for me. But when it came to someone I've looked up to for so many years, it's a feeling like no other. And it breaks my heart even more to know that the circumstances that I saw him the last time are the same circumstances I'm going to be seeing him the last time I ever do see him. So it's never easy.
Yeah, well, life comes full circle sometimes, and unfortunately sometimes the circle, ends in death. And I've come to realize that it's extremely hard. I'm having a tough time accepting the fact that somebody who actually a few years younger than me, who was my brother for all intents and purposes,
My father figure.
Yeah, it was just to me that's hard to wrap my head around it and to figure it out. And especially somebody like Jay who just dropped all the heavy weight,
Who touched many hearts. Like we're talking about a man who had 5,000 friends on Facebook, and the thing is, he knew all of them personally.
Personally, yeah, he just did not just say, "Hey, how you doing?" Whatever, thumbs up. He knew everybody.
Yeah.
He knew everybody.
He made everyone
He
feel
was a
welcome,
guy who
accepted.
made sure he knew you, especially if you were from Bridgeport or from the surrounding areas in Fairfield and everywhere. I mean, he told us to go to Don Pepe's for pizza.
Oh, absolutely. Like, I've even told him many, many times, I said, Jay, if you ran for the mayor of Bridgeport, you would have the city by the balls. But the thing about Jay is he was never about that. He loved what he did. He was about the people. He didn't care about representing the policies. He cared about representing the people.
The people, yep. As a matter of fact, this shirt I'm wearing is from when we were at the New England Powerlifting Championship. He gave me this shirt. We were there, and this was one of the ones he gave me that when he won one of the powerlifting competitions, he gave me that shirt. That was one of the things that brought us together. We were both powerlifters, and he was a bodybuilder before that. And then all of a sudden, I run into him at a powerlifting thing. I met him. And then all of a sudden, I see him at one of the East Coast pro wrestling shows, and he's wrestling. I was like, he's putting on the makeup on his face. I was like, bro, I didn't know you wrestled.
Right? I remember going to all those shows. The ones at the Sheehan Center, those were always
Yeah.
can't believe that had, how many people went to those shows? Like, I would say roughly. Well, it got bigger the second year when he went against the 500-pound Colossus. When he was teaming up with the city mayor, and But the best part about it was now. One thing about Jay, I think we can all say, he was spot on at times with his events, like the sauce versus gravy contest. Like, you look back and we laugh at it even to this day, but but only because the best part about it was people showed up, and he just loved, putting smiles on people's faces. Whether you laughed at it or you loved doing it, people smiled at it, and that was
sauce versus gravy festivals that he would do every year.
Yes, and the comedy roast at his birthday
I'd come
when you
out
showed
and I'd
up.
call it sauce. And you know what always happened? That big ladle would always be broken over my head.
Or the summer main event.
The one thing about Jay was in the ring, I could tell you this. Jay had no finesse when it came to the ring. When he hit you, you knew you were getting hit. And that was what made it fun. Because what bruises am I going to have? Contusions?
I mean, and it wasn't even just getting hit in the face. I mean, even the street fight matches, it was, oh my God, it was, I think one of them was like an amputated leg at one point.
Yeah, I pulled off somebody's prosthetic, and Jay pulled it out of my hand and started beating me over the head with it. That was great.
And then the big tug of war. But you know what? And even the best part, and my family and I laugh about it to this day, is when he went against the 500-pound Colossus and that pipsqueak of a manager that he was with. He comes in and he starts talking crap to the nun that Jay brought into the ring. She was like the Mother Teresa of Bridgeport, if you'll say. And they're all like saying like, what's this broad even doing in the ring and all that kind of stuff. But Jay just said how much he's always representing the people and whatnot. Always cut a promo. Even the bad guys, they couldn't help but listen to him.
Yep. It was always a good time, man.
It was special, man. He was special.
He left a legacy. Well, Joey, I just want to thank you for coming on and representing the memory of Jay Piccirillo, the Iceman of Bridgeport, Connecticut. And by the way, what was your favorite flavor of Michelizzi's ice?
Oh, dude, I loved the coconut flavor. The coconut, you can
Coconut
never go
flavor
wrong
was
with it.
always
And
good,
and that's another thing too. I never was an Italian ice guy. You could never get me to eat Rita's. Jay Picarillo's Michelizzi's Italian ice. It is the best you will ever have. Not in Connecticut, in the world.
Yep.
Prove me wrong.
Yep. And what would he say if he was right here right now? He'd say, "Have an ice day."
Well, when I go by, legends never die.
It's true, 100%. Thank you. Thank you, Joey,
Peace and
for
love,
being on the
guys.
show.
Thank you, Joey. Take care.
Reinforcer Radio.
All right, Reinforcer Radio back on the air with you one more time, and we do have another guest. Going to be our last guest of the episode here, but a pro wrestler in his own right, good friend Andrew Anderson. Going to talk about Jay Ice again. Tim Theory here with us. How you doing, Tim?
What's up? Doing good, man. Rocking and rolling, strutting and strolling. I'm out here at my brother's house right now, Russ. I'll be coming to you live from the studio, but doing good, man. Well, all things considered,
Yeah.
Be on
Great
the
loss, man. Tell us about your relationship with Jay and how many times we've done charity events with him.
Oh, the last one we did wasn't that the outside show?
The Shrine.
Remember that was the Italian it was like an Italian festival or something like that, right?
Yep.
I wanna say I remember Andrew playing the wrong song for me coming out to the ring, as a rib, but dude, he used to always have these crazy events out there in Bridgeport, man. We used to always have fun, and I remember the first time wrestling out there and meeting him, I were out with Tony Myers, and I remember I was out there with Tony Myers, Baron Badley, and Little Smoke, man. So like, Jay Ice, man, he's a legend out there. I remember, man, with Andrew too. They were like, they were just good buddies. Remember after what was the spot we went to after? Then we have we all met there after the show to eat. It was
Big
Gino
restaurant.
Jay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Went
Man,
to a restaurant. He had everything set for us. He had meals catered. He had drinks set up and everything. It was a good time.
yeah, that was
Jay
fun.
always took care of it. Like Iron Sheik would say, A to Z, Baba.
A to Z. A to Z.
Yep. He always made sure everything was covered.
Yeah. Yeah, we had fun out there, man. He was cool. And man, all those shows out there, they really drew. I remember, there was the one show, there was like 1,200 people out there. And I think we still use that as one of the pictures on Gino's website anyway. We still use that picture.
And remember, he had the fireworks display at the end of the show.
Yeah. Not many indie shows can say they have that, that's pretty fresh.
Yep. You were at the show. The only time I've ever seen Jay get pissed off was at that one show at the one center that we did over there. It was a big Cardinal Center, and there was a match with Tony Myers where the side of the cage came down on the fans.
That was the one. All right, so I was supposed to be there, but I was at my brother's graduation for college. But it was like I remember that they didn't like ratchet strap the cage to the ring post. They used like zip ties and some crazy nonsense like that. I remember it was Tony Myers versus the Punishment. It was like for the Brass Knuckles Championship. I just remember hearing that the cage wall fell down to the front row. I was like, man, how you gonna let that happen? But
I remember Jay called me up. He was fit to be tied. He called me over. He goes, "Can you believe that? The cage wall fell on the people.
Yeah.
Those guys." He goes, "They went in it too hard." I was laughing. I was laughing so hard at that moment because Jay looked at me and then he started laughing because that was just him. He goes, "Well, nobody got hurt." And he started laughing and loved it.
Remember Jimmy Snuka had his last match there too, right?
Jimmy Snuka had his last match with me. It was myself and Jason Knight against Jimmy Snuka and Tony and Frankie Flo.
Yeah, Frankie Flo and Jason Knight.
Yep, that was Jimmy's last match ever.
Yup. That was another Jay Ice show, man. Always out there with Gino, man. Great shows, those are good times.
And Jay was really tight with Jimmy Snuka, and he was really tight with Tony Atlas and Tito Santana, and they were always staples of his shows. He always had the old legends on those shows, man.
Yeah. Hey, Drew, you recognize the waist here? Hold on.
Yep, they're from my house. Yep.
Yeah. I got that
Those are some of my old weights.
Yeah. That's
a little bit of nostalgia right there from the old Anderson dungeon.
Reinforcer Radio. Yeah, dude. We got all 11 bar. That thing's nice. Andrew try to get some weight on me. You know what I'm saying? Get the muscles up. You know.
I tried to put weight on you, get you all jacked up.
Yeah.
Well, listen, Tim, I'm glad you were able to share some memories of Jay. It's great having you on, my brother. I miss you.
Yeah, I miss you too. Love you. Love Jay. Rest in peace, man. I always remember Jay, man. Great times.
All right, brother.
All right, man. Ladies and gentlemen, Tim Theory coming at you.
Hey,
Tim, thank you so much, brother.
thanks for having me. You guys be safe.
Reinforcer Radio.
All right, guys, Reinforcer Radio is back with you once again. Thank you again, Pat, Joey, Tim, everybody who came on to talk a little bit about Jay Ice. And, of course, Andrew, thank you, for your stories and your memories. Karen, thank you for your stories, your memories of Jay. It's always good to remember a friend, a brother. And we wanted to take a minute, though, and we wanted to wrap this whole show up, though, on a real happy thing. And we're going back to pro wrestling because it makes us happy. It made Jay happy. Yeah. It makes everybody happy that listens into us. So we're talking pro wrestling. And guess what? We're talking freaking WrestleMania.
That's right. And I could tell you this. The one thing I could tell you that Jay was really excited about was the John Cena heel turn. He loved the heel turn. And I know it's been getting a lot of criticism, people saying he's boring and everything, but I think congratulations to John Cena. He did it again, and he broke Ric Flair's record. He 17-time world champion.
17, guys. Can you believe it? The only person to ever do it 17 times. John Cena, congratulations. I was lucky enough to meet John Cena a couple of years back. That's how I got my awesome Macho Man Randy Savage shirt signed by John Cena. But the match was good. John, you could tell he was a little ring rusty. He's not, been in there week after week. But him and Cody, they told a beautiful story. They kept things rolling with the match. And, I wasn't a huge fan of the Travis Scott interference, for the whole thing. I feel like they could have easily made John Cena look this big heel without having to have Travis Scott, but I get the entertainment whole thing. We got to add the celebrity aspect.
It's WrestleMania.
Yeah, exactly. Right. But if you ask me, if we're doing out of 5 stars, I give it a 3 out of 5. They came out there and they held it down. I'm anxious to see what they're going to do with Cody after this. Hopefully it's going to be pretty good. I don't know if you saw, they already kind of booked the next lineup for John, which was freaking killer. Randy Orton sneaks in, just pops up behind him on Monday Night Raw, John Cena.
Yeah, I didn't see Raw.
It was so good, man. You just see Randy Orton's head pop up right behind John, hits him with the RKO, and then kind of holds the belt like you said there was nobody left, and Randy's got 14, I think.
Yeah, he's been up there a few times.
So, it should be pretty good. And that segues right into the whole thing. Randy Orton was going to go against a mystery opponent because unfortunately Kevin Owens had to get neck surgery. Kevin, I hope you're healing, and if you didn't get the surgery yet, I hope the surgery goes well. Kevin Owens, one of my favorites right now. I love his work. I think he's done amazing work, and for a guy, I feel like who's a little bit on the bigger side, not just the muscular, but you know what I mean. Like Kevin reminds me so much more of a normal guy.
Yeah.
And he gives, I think, us chubby guys hope that we could do this.
Well, I want to give a major shout out to my boy, Jacob Fatu. Jacob, congratulations. All gas, man. No breaks. That's you, buddy. And I call this, and believe it or not, Kevin Sullivan called this that Jacob would be the next big star, the star of the future. And you could see the way he worked. He was just phenomenal. He was trained by Gangrel and Rikishi, and he's just talent. I asked him one time, how'd you learn how to do that moonsault? That he told me, he said he used to do it. He goes, bro, I did it day after day, night after night in swimming pools.
It's funny because Kelly was watching with me, and she was like, dude, that guy's got freaking incredible form on a moonsault for his size.
Yep.
But man, he springs off that rope and he hits them moonsaults. But yeah, Jacob Fatu, freaking killer, man. And LA Knight, you made him look good, and win or lose, you know how it is, Andrew. Like, without a good opponent to help make it look good, LA Knight, they put on a great match.
Awesome.
That was definitely a highlight for me. I had no doubt Jacob was going to take it. He's freaking hot right now.
Yep.
He's still undefeated,
Mm-hmm.
which is killer. And him and LA Knight, they definitely tore the house down on night number one. For me though, I'll tell you what, you asked me, what I thought about for night two. Dude, the ladies tore the freaking house down. They had a banger to open the show. Io Sky, Rhea Ripley, and Bianca Belair freaking killed it, man.
Yeah, they went all out. I heard.
They were smooth. The high spots were beautiful. It was just a good down hard wrestling match between the three ladies. And I'll tell you what, Io Sky, she may be tiny, dude, but she is fierce, man.
She's unbelievable. She's an unbelievably talented athlete.
She really is. Io took that one, kept the belt for that one. Unfortunately, all the WrestleMania picks I lost to Kelly all weekend. Kelly is she likes to put a little wager in on things, and it was my way of getting her to watch Mania with me a little bit, and she beat me on picks both nights.
Yeah, I had my money on Damian Priest, so my boy, I thought he would take it home, but
him and Drew McIntyre though, they talk about a brutal one.
Yeah,
talk about
two big guys, man,
one.
two big guys,
and I mean, absolutely one of the coolest moments there was McIntyre takes a selfie, posts it onto X, and says "bored at work" while he's laying next to laying next to Damian Priest. I mean, listen, innovative. His brother came over, ran over, grabbed him his phone, threw him his phone. He takes a picture and then posts it real quick. And they were saying like he already had like 300,000 views in like 3 minutes.
That's great.
But I mean, hit of the night, though, absolutely hands down. If you haven't seen it, Stone Cold Steve Austin smashing into the barricade with the four-wheeler. If you didn't see it, the fan,
Did I tell you Steve Austin would be part of the show? I told you that from day one.
Well, he was part of the Hall of Fame.
He was in the Hall of Fame with Bret Hart to get their award together for the match, but I told you he would be there some capacity. Maybe he wouldn't have a match, but he would be there.
He unfortunately was he was cruising around the ring a little too fast on the four-wheeler. Maybe had a few too many before he went out.
More than likely.
And he smashed
What's wrong with that?
To the rail, and the fan went flying.
Your overall rating on WrestleMania?
My overall rating, I would give it a solid B plus. I thought Saturday night show, their main event, was incredible. I predicted it, but not the heel turn, but the turn itself from Paul Heyman making it look like he was turning on Roman again to side with CM Punk, uppercutting CM Punk in the balls, then uppercutting Roman Reigns in the balls, and handing the chair to Seth Rollins.
Yeah,
dude, it was magic. It was beautiful. It was well done by Paul Heyman and the guys. And I mean, dude, you had 4 stellar performers in that ring.
Well, I got to tell you, I was very proud of the Tugboat of Fred Ottman getting his award,
yes.
His award, Hall of Fame ceremony ring for him and Earthquake, John Tenta, and also Lex Luger walking to the podium.
It was very, very cool.
Very cool.
He
getting up. And,
he was inducted by Diamond Dallas Page.
Dallas Page, yeah. I still say it should have been Sting. I know that there's protocol there between AEW and WWE. AEW wouldn't let him do it, but I think he should have been able to do it. That's his best friend.
I really hope that they're going to be able to kind of pull down that wall between AEW and WWE and be able to do a little bit of work together. You saw that they're doing it with TNA.
Yeah, they're doing it with AAA too. They bought AAA.
They bought AAA.
Yeah.
And that was the thing. Randy Orton, his mystery opponent was Joe Hendry, the TNA World Champion. He came out, which he got a killer pop coming out there. His story is great. I would love to have Joe Hendry on the show sometime. He's
a hell of a talent, man.
He really is.
Hell of a hand.
He really is. And
unbelievable.
The stuff he's doing is magical. Like it gives so many people a chance to see that you can kind of be just an everyday guy and then make an impact like Joe Hendry has in the last 5 years. Joe, give us a call. We'd love to have you on. But all in all, man, I give it a solid B plus. They had some great matches. The Penta match between Penta, Braun Breaker, Dominic Mysterio, and Finn Balor. I mean, 4 guys that you can't deny. No matter who they're going to face, they're going to tear the house down. I was very surprised they put the strap on Dominic Mysterio, but hats off to Dom. I mean, following in Ray's footsteps, I did feel bad for Ray getting hurt
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't able to perform, but it gave Ray Phoenix an opportunity to step in. And that whole gimmick they're doing, we all know it's Chad Gable in a
Yep,
luchador mask.
That's basically Hulk Hogan as Mr. America again, you know?
I was trying to explain that to Kelly, that it's just this whole joke they're doing, like everyone knows it's Chad Gable, but
It's like the Midnight Rider all over again.
absolutely, man.
Oh.
You know, come on, it wasn't Andre. What did Andre do in
The machine.
Yes, it wasn't
Giant
him.
Machine.
It wasn't him the whole time.
Big
you know,
Machine.
there's
Super
another
Machine.
7'2" guy, 500 pounds.
There was Piper Machine and Hulk Machine. Come on.
That's
you know?
right.
So,
But yeah, all in all, absolutely great. Andrew is going to catch up, I'm sure, on Facebook over the next week and see
the matches that I didn't see.
Yes. I was kind of keeping him in the loop a little bit as I was watching. But him and Karen had a beautiful Thanksgiving, Easter dinner. Karen made this giant piece of meat, and so Andrew couldn't come out and play that night. But
No, not exactly. But also, I was not in the mood because of the loss of my friend. I wasn't exactly in the best of state. I'm still not, and I don't think I'll ever will be. You know, losing Kevin and then losing you know Jay. It just it's been a rough. Well, you know, it's rough in general when you lose people you love. You know.
Yeah.
So it just
it is.
it is just like Jay used to say, and I'm gonna be. I had to work my shoot job during Jay's birthday party, and I couldn't get off, and I will always kick myself in the head because Karen said, go, and I said, I can't, I have to be there, and I'll kick myself in the head to the day I die. I missed his birthday in March, and that would have been the last time I got to see him, and unfortunately, I talked to him 2 days before he passed away. I was on the phone with him. He was making Easter pies and his mom's recipe, cannoli Easter pies, and he was putting them out to sell through Michelizzi's Ice and taking orders. He said, and the last picture he posted on Instagram, Facebook, he posted a picture of himself, and he wrote "the calm before the storm." And little did he know, less than 12 hours, 13 hours later, he was gone.
Well, remember to hug and kiss the ones you love. Only kiss them though if they're okay with it, because you never know. When I try to kiss Andrew every time, he gets a little weird by it.
Yeah, I don't do mouth kisses with guys.
But Andrew, anything to wrap it up for the good of the people?
Yeah, just Jay, I love you. Jay Picarillo, Jay Ice, Iceman, I love you. Town of Bridgeport will never be the same. I'll never be the same. Karen will never be the same. Our lives are blessed just by having you in it. And, to your family, to your son, Gennaro, your sister, Bridget, and everybody in Bridgeport and your family and friends, fans, we love you. Rest in peace. And to John Cena, you did it. To Drew McIntyre, you screwed somebody over, a friend of mine. And that's it. We're going to take it home. This is Reinforcer Radio. Check out Reinforcer Radio. If you don't, I'm going to come to your house. And what am I going to do, Jeff?
He's going to punch your mother in the mouth.
Damn straight.
All right, guys. Live on. Live long. Prosper. I guess I'll go Star Trek. Why not? All right. And we'll see you guys next time around. Later.